Hello, welcome along to SportsBet TV with me, Paul Alster here. Looking forward to some marvellous racing coming up on Saturday, the 9th of April. It is, of course, going to be the world's greatest steeplechase. It still is, despite being a little bit shorter and the fence is not quite as big as they used to be. It is still one of the greatest sporting spectacles in the world. And it's due off 5:15 on Saturday. And towards the end of this bulletin, I'll give you my two selections for the Grand National, which I'm sure is going to be, as always, an absolutely marvellous race. Now, if you're new and just discovering us for the first time, then please press the subscribe button just below the screen. It costs nothing. It means you'll be kept in touch with my tips on a regular basis as and when I put out a bulletin. And I'm always looking to offer decent prices and big prices, as I will be on this occasion, I promise you. So it's worth having a listen, seeing what you think, and lots of people following us, over nearly 6,500 people now subscribe, which is brilliant. Don't forget to tell your friends here, Paul Alster at SportsBet TV. Well, as I said, there is no such thing as a bad national, and it promises to be another great race this year, even though the weather is a little bit, we're not quite sure which way it's going to go. I just, talking of weather, just got back from my holidays in Italy last night, and this bulletin is being recorded very early on Friday lunchtime. So I don't know how my two Friday picks have got on at the time of this recording, but I know how they went on the couple I recommended on Thursday. I'm afraid on this occasion, we didn't have any luck at all. Brewing up a storm, clearly something was amiss. He stopped very, very quickly and it was immediately pulled up. I just hope the horse is okay. He ran in the race won by Agrapart. And I've got an apology to make. And, you know, sometimes when you're on holiday, especially in Italy, La Dolce Vita and the Vino Rosso, you maybe don't think quite as clearly as is usually the case. And the fact that I didn't spot that, of course, Agrapart was ridden by Aidan Coleman because he's JP McManus's retained rider in Britain. Well, it just went over my head on this occasion due to probably too much of the good life. And I apologise, and thanks for pointing it out. Jamie Johnson and Stephen Burke, who mentioned in the comments, they were sort of disgusted of Reading or wherever they're from. They were quite right to pull me up on that because, of course, I had Mark Walsh in my mind as JP's retained rider, but of course that's for his Irish runners. So thanks for mentioning that. I don't mind those kind of comments, believe me. The other runner on Thursday actually ran well. And was a plunge horse, 50-1 recommended, down to 16-1, too friendly. And he ran well for a very long way before just getting tired in the closing stages. I'm sure he'll be finding a race or two along the way next season. He's quite a nice horse going forward, possibly for novice chases. Now then, Aintree Saturday, let's get to it. My first selection is going to be in the opening race, which is a really tough 3-mile handicap hurdle at 1:45. No less than 22 runners go to post. The advance going is good to soft. Now, as I mentioned, we're not sure if the showers are going to hit Merseyside or not. There's quite a breeze as well, so it could dry the ground if the showers miss. But at the moment, it's good to soft ground. And the Betemps hurdle from the Cheltenham Festival a few weeks ago really helps build this race because Third Wind, who won that race in really good style for Hughie Morrison, is back. He's gone up £5. Also in the race is the horse who finished third that day and was my 33-1 each way selection. He showed us a really nice profit. Mill Green, interesting to see if he can back it up. Winter Fog, an Irish raider, was fourth. If the Cap Fits was sixth. What's Not to Know seventh, and Cur Seren was eighth. So they're all doing battle again on a very different type of track. And there could well be one or two reversals in who finishes in front of who. Now, If the Cap Fits is quite interesting. Sixth at Cheltenham a few weeks ago. He won the Grade 1 Liverpool hurdle 3 years ago over course and distance off 152. He's now £15 lower and clearly is still in pretty good heart to run so competitively in the Betemps. The horse that may go off favourite, although it's far from certain, is Nigel Twiston Davis's Beauport, who was second in a Grade 3 handicap hurdle at Sandown over 3 miles in February off 136. One at Uttoxeter after that. He's now £12 higher, though, than at Sandown. Is he improving faster than the extra weight he's being asked to carry up these higher marks? Well, third on that day at Sandown was a horse called Don Levant. And this one is my selection for the 145. It's trained in Wales by Evan Williams, who's in very good form, and his daughter Isabel Williams, who claims £3, is on board. Now, this horse is now £11 better off a 7.5 lengths with the favourite Beauport since finishing just behind him at Sandown. He was staying on 10th of 23 last time out in the Coral Cup at Cheltenham over 2 miles, 5 furlongs, which these days I think is his absolute bare minimum. He needs 3 miles these days. And it was over 3 miles that he won at Haydock in November of 2021. And not a completely dissimilar track to Aintree in many ways. He's run well on all 4 starts since. And it's worth noting that last year, he ran at the Cheltenham Festival as well and was 8th in the Coral Cup. Then he came to Aintree and he ran in the 2.5 mile handicap hurdle and he finished 2nd of 22 to Tronador that day, again staying on. And it looks like Connections are following a very similar path with him. And I'm hoping that with the extra half mile of this race, it is going to suit. Drying ground would certainly help, but he does handle giving the ground. Isabel Williams is his regular rider. She rides him really well, and her £3 claim could be essential when push comes to shove. And of course, the yard had a winner at Aintree on Thursday, so all in the garden is rosy for the Williams family. And I'm with Don Levant, who at the time of this recording is a 12 to 1 shot each way for 6 places, and that is with Betfred. Bet365 were 6 places. The last time I looked, they've gone back to 5 places. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there. So Don Levant is my first selection on Saturday on Grand National Day in the 145. Now, my second selection is later on in the afternoon in the 4:15, the 3 mile, 1 furlong, grade 3 handicap chase. Again, a very big field, 18 runners, and the going is good to soft. And for all the races I'm talking about today, and indeed the race I just mentioned, the 145, please shop around because the bookmakers are changing their terms, sometimes 6 places, 5 places. The Grand National could be 7 or 8 places, depending on who you bet with. And that can make such a difference to your profit and loss overall on the meeting, over the season or over the calendar year. So do remember to check all these things out. But at Aintree in the 4:15 race, well, we've got Chamblou, a fascinating runner for Dan and Harry Skelton, who's a very, very classy horse. He could potentially be a blot on the handicap. And it's his first handicap in his career because he's been a high-class horse, usually running in grade 1 and grade 2 races and going well. Last seen finishing quite a distant 6th to Allaho in the Ryanair chase at Cheltenham last month. That was his first run for 138 days. He was second at Aintree last year to Chantry House in the grade 1 Mildmay novices chase. So he can certainly handle the track. My reservation about him is not his ability, it's whether he's able to handle the rough and tumble of an 18-runner handicap chase, having been running in 6, 7, 8-runner graded races for the most part over the last few seasons. So on that basis, I'm not going to be going with him, and obviously he'd be too short for punters like me at 5 to 2. Now, Oscar Elite and T Clipper were 3rd and 4th respectively in the Ultima handicap chase. Last time out at Cheltenham, they're both perfectly capable of running really well again. You just wonder how much those hard races might have taken their toll. And then one trainer who's carrying all before him at the moment is Christian Williams, and his Cap de Nord beat Kitty's Light, who has since been second in the Scottish National, to another stable companion, and that was at Kempton in February in the former Racing Post chase. He's gone up £8, but he still remains a proper contender. Killer Kane is another interesting one, a progressive novice for Colin Tizard. He's on a hat-trick after wins at Sandown and Kempton. And also the top weight Espoir de René can't be ruled out. He's been 3rd in a couple of listed chases this term and could be a player. But my choice here is a horse called Commodore. Now, Commodore is a really bonny grey, trained by Venetia Williams in the mount of Charlie Deutsch. Now, there is a chance that he might not run here if he gets into the Grand National because he's the first reserve. But Recording this Friday lunchtime, no sound at the moment of any of the 40 declared runners backing out for any reason. So it looks as if Commodore could miss out on the big one, but if he does, he could gain very good compensation here, I feel, in this handicap chase over 3 miles, 1 furlong. Now, this is a horse who back in 2020, November 2020, failed by just half a length to beat the Grand National favourite of tomorrow, Snow Leopardess. That was at Haydock. And he was clear, 5 lengths clear before being caught on the run-in after idling. He's a horse who goes very, very well fresh. He's just had the 1 run this year, and that was when absolutely dotting up at Cheltenham by 15 lengths. He won in a Grade 3 handicap chase, beating Mr. Fog Patches, who's a decent staying handicapper. Courtmaster and Santini were also behind Santini, set to go in the Grand National Saturday as well. Now, unlike most of Venetia Williams' horses who tend to relish really testing ground, this is a horse who's at his best on good to soft ground, or even good ground, I'd say. He's also great when he's fresh, and he loves a left-handed track, which is what he's got here. I think that a £9 rise for his 15-length win at Cheltenham is fair. And I do think that if Commodore runs in that 4:15, and unfortunately for his connections, misses out on the Grand National, I think they could still end up with a payday here, because at 10 to 1 each way for 6 places with Sky Bet, I think he's worth a chance. If by any chance he doesn't run because something comes out of the National and he goes there, then Cap de Nord would probably be my next best selection, but we'll just have to wait and see. It does look, I'm not sure exactly what time the limit is when they can bring in a reserve, but it does look as though Commodore may well miss out there, but could gain compensation in that 4:15. And now I'm going to take you on to the biggest jump race of the season for the general public, really, much as the real blue ribbon race is the Cheltenham Gold Cup. This is the one that the public love. This is the one that anybody who likes racing finds himself being inundated with friends who will have a bet once a year saying, can you tell me what's going to win the Grand National? Of course you can. There's only 40 runners, 30 fences, all sorts of rough and tumble going on and chaos here and there. This is the one we all get the phone call for on the Friday evening. It is a great race. It's a wonderful spectacle. Last year's win by Rachel Blackmore, of course, took the race onto another level on a worldwide scale in some respects. And her Minella time is going to try again. This is, of course, 4 1/4 miles. The going is good to soft. Minella times, tremendous horse, but he hasn't been the same horse this season. He's failed to complete in 2 runs, a fall and a pulled up. He's £15 higher than last year. And for me, I think it would be miraculous if he was able to go in again. So I can't be having Minella times in his current form, I'm afraid. But his owner, JP McManus, has a number of other runners, and his first colours are carried by Any Second Now, who won the Bobby Joe Chase, which is a good trial for the Grand National. He won that last time out, and you'd have to think he would go well, having been a very good third in the race last year, and he was unlucky in running. He was almost stopped in his tracks at one point. So Any Second Now wouldn't surprise me even to see him go off favourite. I know there's a lot of money for Snow Leopardess, for Charlie Longston, who I mentioned in relation to Commodore just a minute or two ago. She's been a proper old-fashioned public gamble. Lovely grey mare, great story behind her with the Foxpit family. Around a 17-2 favourite at the time of this recording. She's won all 3 races this season, including the Beecher Chase over the national fences in December. She's got a lot going for her, even though she's never done this kind of distance. I'm sure she'll go well, but it would be remarkable, really, for a mare to win the national. And I think, although we had a mare absolutely running away with the Scottish national last week, I think she'll run well, but she may find a few too good. Gordon Elliott has Delta work amongst a host of runners. He, of course, beat his lauded stable companion, the dual national winner Tiger Roll, by that much at Cheltenham just a few weeks ago. It was a remarkable race for the cross-country chase, but he had a hard race, didn't he? And to come back fresh as paint after that would be really amazing. Emma Lavelle's got an interesting one in Eclair Surf, who was second in the Ida Chase to the subsequent Scottish National winner, Win My Wing, so that form looks hot. And Escaria 10 was only just pipped by any second now, and there may not be much between those two on that Bobby Joe running. One I considered for quite some time is Fiddler on the Roof for Colin Tizard, a really classy sort. He was second in the Ladbroke Trophy Chase, the old Hennessy Gold Cup at Newbury in November, and second in a listed handicap latest. If he stays, he's got the class to go very close, but it's not for sure he will get the trip. But obviously connections must think he will. I have, with your permission, two suggestions for this race. They're both big prices. And my first, and the preferred of the two, is DISCORAMA. DISCORAMA for Paul Nolan and Brian Cooper, Irish-trained runner. He's my first choice. He stays really well. He was second in a famous national hunt chase at the Cheltenham Festival in 2019, where very few finished. He was third in the 2020 Ultima Handicap Chase at the Cheltenham Festival, and he was seventh in last year's Grand National, which was a brilliant sight over this year. And he arrived at last year's National after all sorts of problems in training and fitness, and he had a breathing operation as well. He had every chance as they crossed the Melling Road, and also jumping two out, he was still bang there, but he couldn't quite stay with them. Probably a slight lack of fitness and hold-ups during his training took their toll of him. I think he's been trained with this in mind, because they certainly saw for themselves the horse seemed to love jumping the fences, and we know he stays. He was 5th of 13 in a little handicap hurdle at Galway in October on his reappearance. And then he was second, beaten just a length in a 3-mile conditions chase in early February at Fairyhouse. That will have blown away the cobwebs. He's had a couple of months break. He'll be fresh and well, and he's got the cheek pieces on for the first time. The ground should be fine, and if the rain does come, it will be no detriment at all to the chances of DISCORAMA. And the offers I'm seeing at the moment are 4-0, 40 to 1 each way, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of firms paying 7 places. You may even get 8 places Friday evening into Saturday morning. So that's DISCORAMA. I think he is going to run a huge race in the Grand National Saturday. But I'm also having a little bit on a real outsider as well. We've seen shocks in this race before. Aurora's Encore, of course, Monmouth. And I don't discount the possibility of a horse called Domaine de Lille running a massive race for Sean Curran and Harry Bannister, a small trainer, former jockey, and a northern jockey on board here, Harry Bannister. This horse has won 7 of his 27 races. He won 2 really solid handicap chases last term, over 2.5 miles at Kempton and 3.25 miles at Cheltenham. And he caught the eye when he stayed on into 4th place behind Snow Leopardess in the Beecher Chase over the national fences in December. That was a rock-solid run, and he was staying on well past the elbow and on the run-in, and another mile I think would have suited him. That's what he will get on Saturday. He's since run second in a hurdles race at Southwell in January, and then after the weights were published, he had a quiet run, shall we say, in the Ida Chase under an inexperienced conditional rider at Newcastle. Now Harry Bannister is booked, and Harry Bannister, I don't know if you've noticed, having a great season, really good northern jockey, 46 winners this season, and a good strike rate of late of around 29%. And Sean Curran, as I say, a small yard with a horse to go to war with. I just think he will keep going, this horse, and he is no mug. And 100 to 1, I think, is a bit of an insult. Although I did look on the machine, and Betfair are going 140 on the exchange. So 100 to 140 if you want to bet him on the exchange, Domaine de Lille. But he is 100 to 1 each way, and that's a general price with Skybet and Betway, from what I can see at the moment, offering 7 places. I'm sure plenty of others will offer even 7, 8 places, maybe even bigger odds as well. So my 2 for the 2022 Grand National, Paul Alster's choices: DISCORAMA, 4-0, 40 to 1 each way, and Domaine de Lille at 100 to 1 each way. in the Aintree Spectacular at 5:15. Whatever you backed, I hope they run well. And most importantly, I hope all the horses and the jockeys come back safely. I'll be back this time next week with my weekend bulletin. But for now, from me, Paul Alster, I'm going to say goodbye. Let's hope it's a great race Saturday. Always a pleasure to see the Grand National. Bye-bye for now.